What's up guys, KingSherry85 here, bringing you another story from Rslash DnDstories. And also in addition to that, the next part of my playthrough of Link's Awakening, the remake. I think right now we're going through the color dungeon. Continuing on with more D&D stories. Now, if you don't like the D&D stories format, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to stick with it for a while at least. Until I'm able to purchase a new phone, since I recently broke the camera on mine. I was actually trying to save up for a dedicated camera, but unfortunately I just haven't been able to with everything going on. So, just gonna have to stick with this for now. Sorry about that. So, if you like the format, I'd appreciate feedback in the comments. Maybe leave a like. If you don't like it, again, I would appreciate feedback in the comments and maybe drop a dislike. All right. That being said, let's get into some Reddit Dungeons and Dragons stories. Our first story for the day is posted by Opal Essence. Our level 4 paladin one-shot a basilisk. Obligatory, I'm not the DM. In our campaign, we have two paladins, Turtle and Human. A wizard, Human. A bard, half-elf. A dragoon, me, a half-elf. And a samurai, Human. The last two being homebrew, and the samurai wasn't fighter archetype. Really? That's interesting. We had taken up a top-secret mission from the king of the town we were visiting. He had wanted us to go down to the town's secret underground passage, as the king believes that creatures he suspects are basilisks are eating soldiers. After 1 week of preparing, we ventured into the passage with the king as our guide to go as far as they could travel, and then we were left to our own devices. The one hall we were taking split into three. Using my Dancing Lights cantrip, we found that the left and right passages led to rooms, and the middle passage led to another fork. Our samurai immediately charged into the left room. We all followed except the wizard, who stayed behind to find out what was in the other room, what was down the other two halls. We were met with two basilisks. One was looking at a corner, and the other being 10 feet in front of the samurai. The closest basilisk charged at the samurai and bit him, nearly killing him. As the Turtle Paladin ran into the room, the second basilisk tried to bite him, but bounced off the shell. Immediately after that, the bard had cast Bane, and the basilisk in front of the turtle failed a saving throw. The other paladin ran up but didn't reach attack range, and I jumped into the air with jump attack. The samurai ran behind the rest of the party in order to disengage battle. Then came the reckoning. It was our Turtle Paladin's turn now. The basilisk attempted to petrify the turtle, and he rolled a 5 on his saving throw. This would have failed. However, the divination wizard gave him a roll of 9, which was just enough to pass the saving throw once the turtle's proficiency and bardic inspiration roll was added. The bard had given him bardic inspiration earlier. He didn't get petrified and was able to roll without disadvantage and rolled a nat 20, having already cast Thunderous Smite. The turtle rolled for damage. He rolled an 8 for his longsword hit, which after crit was a 16. Then he rolled a 12 on his divine smite, which would crit for 24 damage. Then an 11 on thunderous smite damage, dealing 22 damage. This all added up to 67 HP after his strength modifier was added. This completely one-shot the basilisk, and it exploded. He was only level 4, and he somehow obliterated a basilisk. Our next Reddit post is from Sun Koso. That time, our wizard died in his first ever session of D&D. I should first start this off by saying that almost everyone in our group is new to D&D, with the exceptions being one person who used to play 3.5e and our DM who has been playing for almost 3 years. We're also all military. This is also kind of a long story. Sorry. This was our first ever session, and our friend had missed the first session due to work, so this session was his first. We were all level 4. Our party consisted of 5 members. Me, a half-orc barbarian named Braga, my best friend, a wood elf druid, Another friend, a variant human rogue Loli, we have a recurring joke now that whenever she goes to the bar, the bartender, who always seems to be named Benny, always asks if she's old enough to drink. To which she exasperatedly and dramatically claims that she is, in fact, old enough. One of our co-workers, a human fighter, and our very own future victim, a high elf wizard. Now, our friend who was playing the wizard had probably been the most excited of all of us to try out D&D. He spent almost 2 weeks writing up the backstory to his character. It was 4 pages long and carried the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of this little elf wizard. This character was his first child, who he had lovingly created. Oh no. If only he had known what would happen to it. Oh, I feel the pain already. At the time, we were escorting a caravan back to a trade city led by a surly man whom I had beaten in arm wrestle to increase our pay by 10 gold. Along our way, we were attacked by a pack of gnolls. Our party beat them with relative ease, and the wizard had actually come out as a key player, casting Crown of Madness on the leader of the pack and thus forcing him to attack his packmates. He was having a good time getting into the flow of strategy and combat, and on one of the bodies we found a map which looked like it led back to their lair. Thus, confident in our abilities as we had completely crushed this pack, we asked the caravan leader if he would pay us extra for us to go ahead and clear the camp to stop any possible future attacks on the caravan by the gnolls. The caravan leader was reluctant but agreeable, so away we went. We travel for about an hour, eventually coming across an abandoned mine shaft that looks to be their lair. There are 2 guards out front, which we dispatch quickly, though one managed to run inside to go warn a few others. After fighting another pack, we're feeling even more confident as we're relatively untouched. So we begin to head into the mines. In the first hallway, we're told to make a perception check, which we do, and it reveals a crack in the wall that looks like it could fit a mid-sized person in. Our druid had shapeshifted into a giant spider and couldn't fit, so I, being the tank, decided to head in first, followed by our rogue, and finally our wizard. Our fighter elects to stay behind with the druid, just in case. Before we do, though, I tie one end of a piece of rope I had to our druid and told him that if enemies were coming towards them, to yank on it and we could come back and vice versa. And into the hole we went. The hole ended up being the worst fucking mistake of our lives. We travel for about 70 feet until we can see the end of the hole, and out of the opening we see what we know is the boss of the dungeon. 2 of them, in fact. One is a large gnoll with chainmail and a glaive. The other is a large monstrosity of a gnoll which looked like it had mutated. It was drooling from the mouth and was much bigger than the other gnolls. We're told to make stealth checks, which we do and pass. We see the gnoll with the glaive shouting out orders to another pack, and then they disappear. After a hushed conversation, we decide to ambush the boss now while we have the element of surprise, and I tug on the rope, signaling for our allies to come and help us. The druid shapeshifts back, and he and our fighter come through the hole. Our DM offhandedly tells them to make stealth checks as well. Our druid passes. Our fighter rolls an @1. So we and everyone else in the boss room hear the fighter's armor scraping against the wall like nails on a chalkboard, and loud cursing as he keeps tripping and stumbling. Both of the bosses and 2 of their underlings that had stayed behind look at us. Fuck, I say. Everyone rolls initiative, and we all roll low, with me being the lowest. The 2 bosses, on the other hand, roll high, while their underlings roll decently. The monstrosity charges straight at the hole and begins ripping into me with a multi-attack. One of the attacks crits. In 1 turn, I lose 18 health out of my 38 maximum. I'm already panicked. No one else in the back can get a clear shot in because of the narrowness and the way the hole is angled. I realize that I have to get out so everyone else can get out, so I do. Again, I was the last turn, which means the 2 bosses go right after me. The gnoll with the glaive swings for 2 attacks, both of them crit. At this point, I'm staring at the DM, who is panicking because he also wasn't expecting to deal this much damage this quickly. The first attack deals a total of 26 damage, enough to force me to use my race trait that brings me back to 1 health. I groan, already knowing that the next attack is going to knock me unconscious, which of course it does. The monstrosity then goes into the hole once again, stopping our party from effectively coming out to save me. After 3 grueling rounds of combat, which thankfully our DM was merciful and decided not to have the enemies attack my unconscious body, I stabilize and am just waiting for the fight to go on. Our party finally manages to kill the monstrosity and pour out of the hole where the other enemies are waiting. After 5 more rounds of bad rolls, our party finally manages to kill the other boss and one of the other underlings, though they're all looking pretty rough, and then the 6 gnolls that were sent out earlier come back. Our party at this point isn't fighting with any sort of strategy involved and is just trying to survive. Most of us are already expecting a TPK, and some of us had started drinking. First our rogue goes down, and then our fighter, who had started this whole chain of events. At this point, the only ones still up are our druid, who has changed into a direwolf, and our wizard. 4 gnolls left, 3 of which are attacking our druid, and 1 has turned on our wizard. After badly wounding the gnoll, but unfortunately being unable to kill it, he goes down. It's just our druid left. Everyone else is unconscious. At this point, though, things are looking up. He's already managed to kill 2 of the gnolls, which just means he has to kill 2 more badly wounded gnolls in 2 turns, and then go heal the wizard as everyone else stabilized. Shouldn't be a problem, right? First turn, he manages to swipe at a gnoll and kill it. Then it's the wizard's turn to roll for his save. He fails. No problem, our druid will be able to kill the gnoll and save him. Next turn, our druid misses. We're all kind of nervous now. The wizard rolls, and it's a successful nat 20 save. He's at 2 successes and 1 failure. No way things can go wrong. We've already relaxed and are eagerly anticipating the loot. Next turn, druid attacks the gnoll and kills it. Uses his bonus action to shapeshift back. But there's one more roll to be made. I'm sure you've already guessed where this is going. Our wizard makes his last saving throw, but it's fine. As long as he doesn't roll a nat 1, our druid can't. But he does. He rolls, and a nat fucking 1 is staring up at him. Which means 2 automatic failures. Everyone at the table is shocked, including the DM. For a solid minute, no one says anything. Just stares at the die. And then at our wizard, who is sadly crossing 2 X's into his failures, which brings him to a total of 3. 3 means death. Our DM then sorrowfully describes the druid killing the last gnoll, morphing back into his true form, desperately dashing over to the wizard, who had, over the course of the caravan journey, expressed an almost naive-like wish for adventure and exploration to make up for what he had done to his family. Our druid taking him into his arms, only for the wizard's eyes to slowly dim just as he put a potion to his lips. He described the wizard's hand falling limply to his side, the potion pooling ineffectively out of his mouth. Then finally narrates the druid coming to the realization that the wizard, who had such high dreams of becoming someone important in the future, had died as a nobody inside some nameless mineshaft, fighting gnolls for a piddly 10 extra gold on his pay. There's another few moments of silence, and then the DM begins describing the loot that was in the mineshaft that the gnolls had been pilfering off of caravans for years, though no one really cared. No one, except for me, who had had a few drinks by this point and was chuckling at the irony. About half an hour passes and we've made it back to the caravan, have met a new NPC that seems pretty important, and are closing up the session for the night after a burial to our dearly departed wizard. The end. Yeah, Oh, that sucks. Especially hearing like the beginning part. I really wish that he hadn't put that title on here specifically, because honestly, the build up was perfect. It was absolutely perfect as like a gut punch tragic story. If only he had just picked a different title, that would have been perfect. It would have just been like this gut punch that you could feel like just building up. You know it's coming, but at the same time you're not sure, because the story could go any way. You know, it could go any way at that point. Honestly, it's D&D. It could literally go any way depending on the roll of the dice. You can't really predict exactly what's going to happen. But yeah, that sucked. Like, losing this character that he had put so much thought into, and on his first session, oh, that goes to show like how unpredictable some of those campaigns can be. Oh man, I can only hope this didn't make him lose heart and give up. Our next Reddit post is by Erosen by Any Other, and they want to let us know that there are spoilers for the Curse of Strahd module within this short story. So in our last session, the party had just barely survived an encounter against 4 vampire spawn. We got our quest item and headed back to the church, only to be greeted by a snide vampire man and his wife. See, Strahd. He'd taken the priest hostage and gave the option of him dying or giving him our very important NPC companion. Now, we obviously couldn't just give him the companion we swore to protect, but this priest was basically the only thing keeping the town sane. If he died, the town would erupt into chaos. Cue us discussing ideas for about 10 minutes when all of a sudden our paladin, who was already near death from the earlier fight, suddenly says, "I offer myself instead." Absolute silence. You could have heard a pin drop. The DM makes it clear that if he does this, he will lose his character. 5 more minutes of silence while he thinks it over. "I accept." He limped over, took Strahd's hand, and that was it. He was gone. The party was distraught. The cleric was crying. The wizard couldn't process what happened. The druid had his head in his hands. The fighter's alignment even shifted. We ended the session there, and we all commended the paladin player for how great of a moment that was. Not bad for my first campaign. The comments down below are usually praising this moment of roleplay. We got this right at the top. Superb. It's moments like this why I love D&D. Hats off to the Paladin by Stu on Slow. And I agree, this was actually an exceptional moment of roleplay where you're willing to sacrifice your own character to just elevate that story moment even more. And they're following along with the module itself. Our next Reddit post is from Slavic Shadow. How we almost died at the start of a playthrough. First of all, I am not the DM. It is a friend of mine, and we are playing online due to quarantine. We are 1 DM and 3 players, Warlock Mage, Human Paladin, and Human Scout. The playthrough's name is Swamp Nightmare. We started out in a tavern, fairly normal. A goblin comes in saying something to our Warlock Mage and dies. We loot him and get a healing cloth. We go out, a dead elf. We loot him, 30 gold. Then our scout says, let's keep some of the coins and throw the rest in the Well of Fortune. We all agree, so we all kept 9 coins and wanted to throw 3 into the well. Our mage threw 1, then a golden snake crawled out. He hissed, trying to tell us to wish for something. The mage wished for a renovated tavern. Nothing. I, Paladin, have decided to strike the golden snake with my sword. The snake jumped on the blade and, poof, ate it. I was left with only a handle. We then realized that the snake eats metals and our weapons are ineffective. The scout decided to throw a rock at it. He missed and hit the butcher's house. The butcher then went out and started attacking him. We were level 1 and he was like level 20 or so? We realized that we are doomed. Then I got an idea. Why don't we just yeet the butcherer into the well? Everyone agreed, so we did that. The butcherer fell into the well and pushed the golden snake out. They then both died, and the snake dropped approximately 10 kilograms of pure gold shaped like scales, which we then sold to a local jeweler for 70 gold coins per kilogram. Well, we told him that it is snake treasure and gave him the shape of the gold as a proof. In short, we got attacked by a snake and a butcherer, so we yeeted the butcherer into the well, knocked out the snake, and obtained 10 kilograms of snake gold. Now, on that specific story is where I'm going to end us off. Players were in quarantine because it's a very serious threat out there. You need to protect yourself. Only leave your house when you absolutely need to for supplies or if you're working for work. Otherwise, you're putting yourself and your family at risk. Now, I'm just going to tell you guys, just stay safe. Do only what you need to do. Keep yourself protected. Wear a mask. Wear gloves. If you got sanitizer, sanitize yourself. Just do whatever you got to do to make it through this. Because we don't know how long for sure this is going to last. And we just want to make sure that we're all there at the end of it. All right? Stay safe, guys.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, don't forget to smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, you can check out past videos here. Or you can click here to check out my newest upload. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell to stay notified on all future videos.